Welcome to Xenon Gaming Series Season 8, everybody. My name's Happy, and I just ate a Chipotle quesadilla in 6 minutes, and I am here with Goose, my very good friend, who probably hasn't done something nearly as impressive so far today, but still is pretty alright himself.
I mean, I got about like two best of ones to like around 2.5 hours to see if I can squeeze. We got plenty of time to see what happens.
Even still, XGS Season 8 is here. We're finally back. It's been a while since Xenon has had something running. I think since the last proper mainline Xenon season ended in 2024 in September. The 1st of September was the last Playday. So it has been over a year since XGS has happened. There was the TPL XGS thing in between. But other than that, it's been a quiet era for Tier 3 on the whole, I would say. Between, XGS, at least the Tier 3 that you and I know and love at least the best. But it's still pretty exciting to see. This season is a little different than most. There are a lot less teams that actually made it to the main stage of the main season this time. We've only got 8, and they're going to be playing a lot more games per team than teams had in prior seasons.
Yeah, this is Phase 3 just after our Swiss stage for the closed qualifier. Every game in this group stage will be best of ones. No more best of threes until we get to playoffs. So it's a lot of potential setup, or not setups, but upsets. And I think a lot of, new teams like coming in. NDK, a lot of people, a lot of question marks around them. Even Sens Guns and Co. have a lot of new up-and-comers and a lot of console players. So I think going into this season, it is really about who's able to upset some of the bigger teams. Even, JJ, BallSac Nation, a year later, still in Tier 3 somehow.
Somehow. The guy makes Pro League and still ends up in Tier 3. You kind of have to feel for him at a certain point. Yeah. But no, that's how it's going to go. Everybody's going to get the chance to play each other one time as well, all best of ones, and the Playdays will, to my knowledge, mostly just be on the same days of the week, obviously. Today is a Tuesday, and so we'll be having Tuesday Playdays. Tomorrow on Wednesday, there will be more. And then for the rest of the season, next week, there's Tuesday, Wednesday as well. And then after that, for the last week of the round robin stage, it's on 3 days in a row. So that's the best I've got for you right now. But just kind of gets you a little bit of understanding as to just how much each team is playing. In prior seasons of most T3 leagues, you're only really seeing 3 to 5 games in Swiss, and then maybe you're getting some playoff games as well. Teams are playing at least 7 best of ones against other teams. You're getting the chance to see everybody once to see who really is the most fit to make playoffs. And with all of that said and done, we can finally hop into our very first game of today. It's Space Station Gaming Academy versus BallSac Nation, a game that I am sure is probably the most exciting on paper, given the names in the lobby to most people who are watching right now.
Yeah, I think, whether or not, the entirety of BallSac Nation is taking this game seriously, they still have that mechanical skill and knowledge that I think even if they're not going the full 100%, it's going to give SSG, in my opinion, the best run of their money they've had at this event so far. Obviously, they faced a lot of really great teams. They lost one of their games in the closed qualifiers, but this is where they're going to be really tested, in my opinion, at the highest level.
Yeah, losing their game to Sen Guns and Co. earlier on was definitely not what we expected to see out of this team. It's a team that the core of the roster did a lot in Tier 3 and Tier 4, and everything they were able to play in. They've made some changes recently. Soapy recently stepping back from being on the team. We're not sure if he was let go or if he chose to leave the team and look for other opportunities. Either or. Penguin is stepping in his place for today. This is yet to be announced as a permanent change, but he played closed quals with them as well. So it seems like the team is liking playing with Penguin on board. Otherwise, it's exactly who they last played tournaments with under all of their Academy roster names: Kason, Scary, Adept, and Retro.
Yeah, Penguin's spot right now technically is being trialed. I think official trials are being held later this week. So Kason, Scary, Adept, Retro, those are your set 4. But I mean, this game, every best of one that they play this week essentially is a trial for Penguin. And obviously, he had a slow start in the closed qualifier, but their last game, phenomenal, dropping over 27 to 20 kills, getting 13 in one game. Again, I think this is a roster overall that is not the best right now, but are rapidly developing, and I think in the future will be one of the best.
Hard to not develop when you're under an org like SSGA with whatever help that Space Station is giving them. However that may be going, because obviously we're not behind the scenes. It's going to help a lot to even just have that support of a big org like Space Station Gaming. It's not the first time these guys have been an Academy roster, but it is, I would say, the biggest Academy roster they have been and the biggest organization they've been under. And we're actually going to get the opportunity to listen to what Retro had to say going into week number 1, because we got a little bit of an interview to look behind the scenes about how this SSGA roster is feeling.
Hello, everybody. My name is Retro, and we're currently getting ready to head into week 1 of XGS. Our first matchup is going to end up being against BallSac Nation. I'm personally excited. I know some of the players in that roster. Jacob's the main guy that I'm looking forward to playing, so I'm really excited to be playing a group of tier 1 players and Ions again. It's been a long time since I've had the opportunity to compete with and against him, so I'm looking forward to it. I think realistically the goal of the game is, and what we're going to need to do in order to beat a team of experienced players like they are, is just going to be us having to focus on being ourselves, not letting the nerves get to us, taking it one round at a time, and just reinforcing the basic fundamentals that we need to do as a 5-man in order to win the rounds necessary. I think the biggest player that we're going to have to focus on shutting down if we want is probably going to have to be Ampty or Snake. Both those players. Snake has a lot of experience. He played on the old TSM roster. He's been in and out of T1. He carries a lot of experience for this group of guys, more than anybody else. He's a very explosive and aggressive player. I think Ampty's going to be another problem child that we're going to end up having to deal with. And I feel like if we can shut those two down early, I think victory's very within reach for us. Preparations, we're not really doing anything in particular to prep against JJ's team. We're just focusing on making sure that our bases are covered and the mistakes and weaknesses that we have as a team, obviously not having a full 5 immediately, making sure that our basic fundamentals as a 4 while trying out for another player is grounded, and that way no team can exploit those weaknesses against us.
And with that, Retro seems to be pretty confident that they've got a solid shot in the game today, but it's not going to be easy. JJ Blast has brought a bunch of his tier 1, tier 2, plenty of experience friends to Xenon Gaming Series. They made it through the closed qualifier a little bit more shaky than you would have thought, but as you will probably see if you choose to tune into his Twitch stream at any point, he is taking sub bribes to do rush strats and team kill his teammates. So it doesn't seem like this is the biggest deal that he's ever done, but it's still scary when you look at the 5 names on this team.
Yeah, it really is. And I think adding a player like Ions that, second player that has the ability to call, then also maybe adds a little bit more seriousness to this roster is fantastic. Snake and Twists on this roster, I am scared for any team that doesn't have experience like an SSG that goes against them, because if you're not careful, if you're not keeping your eye on these players, they can quickly turn into farmers.
Did you mean farmers like in a positive or a negative way?
No, like they're farming kills.
Oh, okay.
Like, have you seen Twist in tier 3 the past 2 months?
I know. No, trust me, I know. Twist is different, but I thought you meant like plumbers and mailmen type.
Oh, okay, I see.
Anyways, rosters is all good. JJ and co probably don't have any prep. Let's be real. So what map we're going to is pretty much going to come down to what their players don't feel like playing on right now and what SSG are most prepared for. And that comes down to Nighthaven Labs. JJ and co had the chance to maybe go to Clubhouse, which seems like maybe it would play into a pug stack really well, but they opt into Nighthaven Labs instead. I watched a little bit of their team play in closed quals, and I did see that they were playing Labs already. So it's a map that this, maybe not this exact set of 5 has experience on, but the pug stack, this team has experience on in this tournament. So it's going to help quite a lot to be at least somewhat experienced, because you're going to need it against a team like SSGA.
Yeah, one thing that really stood out for me from that ban phase, and something that I love from tier 3 teams, is when they just continued to bash their head against walls and bans. The entire closed qualifier, SSG would never ban Fortress. But in the very first match here, after more than likely losing one and having maybe a bit of trouble in scrims, I don't exactly sure, I don't have inside info, midway through just already banning it, telling me that they've kind of changed up their philosophy, whether it be just all the way from the map bans or if it is in-game.
And as we get in game, Nighthaven Labs is ready to go between BallSac Nation and SSG Academy. SSGA, a team that a lot of people had slated to do pretty well in closed, and they did do quite well, but you look at the teams they faced off against, and it doesn't, I think you had pointed this out in pre-show, it doesn't feel like they faced anybody that's quite at the caliber of JJ and Co. They didn't beat anyone who made the league. They only lost to one team, and it's Send Guns and Co., a team that's pretty good in a game that was pretty close, but when you look at the players on that roster, it doesn't feel like it's a roster that should have been able to step up to SSGA's level, especially, given the prestige that being under SSG kind of adds and the expectations that comes with it. So maybe some doubts about SSGA, whether or not they'll be able to step up against the other 7 teams that actually qualified. Because like I said, they didn't beat anybody who qualified in the quals. They did beat F5 and Hakiki Mori, 2 very good teams. And also managed to shut down Imperium of Man, who also went 2 and 3. Players I'm less familiar with, but still takes a good team to get that far in the closed qualifier as well. So maybe there's a chance that SSGA just had a bad closed, but for now, we're going to have to wait and see until we can actually look at what happens in the game, because it is looking like we have some tech issues to start.
Yeah, I hope that that's not going to be the current theme that carries out through today's show, because, obviously, I think it's a good moment. Speaking of technical issues, Mozzie for today, at least, is quarantined because he just has 200 Mozzie packs. And I think common knowledge says that probably shouldn't happen. So, obviously, I think even with his changes, it's not, that huge of a takeaway, especially on a map like here. It's not like we're banning Clash. So again, it's just, something to keep in mind. I think going into this matchup, it is really going to come down to the play styles of both teams. And I think just JJ and Co, especially since they're just, playing loose. They don't have a set game plan. They're not coming into this exactly with map stress. Kind of a pug stack. So with that, relatively, they're going to play really aggressive, especially in that early round. And that's something where I want to look at SSG, and I want to see how they deal with that.
Yeah, I think it'll be especially prevalent because you think about a map like Nighthaven Labs, right? It's very big, very open. There are a lot of very open rooms with a lot of different avenues, maybe for lurk opportunities, especially when you get towards trying to defend the basement, trying to defend the first floor. So I'm thinking about it as JJ and Co coming in, they couldn't have less pressure on them. I don't even think there's any pressure, right? Maybe if you put Satex in, because JJ got him out of his Twitch chat, and so he feels like he's got something to prove, but I don't think he's playing today. So otherwise, it's a bunch of people who've already proven that they are very solid players, at least in T3, even if you wanted to say, Ampty is less proven than the others, and TE isn't even T2, which I would still say he's been quite a solid player for a solid amount of time. Everybody has already proven they're good enough to play at this level, and they don't have strats, they don't have anything. So I think they're going to play completely free of any shackles that might exist otherwise. And so it's going to be up to SSGA, like you said, to play fast in response and to respond quickly whenever JJ and Co go for something. I think, like we talked about, there's going to be a lot of random lurks along the map, a lot of people who just trust their instinct and think they've hit a gap and they're just going to go without hesitation. There may not even be like an IGL, right? It may just be 5 people trying to hit gaps. And SSGA need to trust some structure. They know that that is a style they can absolutely beat. They've been playing together for the most part for a pretty long time. The core of this team has been together for months, a lot longer than most T3, T4 teams usually are together. So I do think that SSGA should be the favorites, at least in theory, but it's very easy to lose 1 or 2 rounds early on and get frazzled and kind of forget the game plan. So they'll have to try and stay composed, because this kind of is the biggest thing that these players have had the opportunity to play in, because so many of them are underage. They really can't play in much beyond T3. So maybe there's a bit more pressure than there is for other people.
Yeah, I think the last big event, technically, that's, pushing it, but is Blitz. Yeah, I know, right? No. But I think also Best of Ones is going to be an opportunity for SSG to develop this kind of micro thing where they need to just find something in game. It's not a best of 3 where you can go into a second map, a third map, fix your mistakes, play a different play style. You have to find something consistent and run with it for round to round to round. I think that's something that not only SSG main has an issue with, but a lot of these younger teams. If they can't find something, usually they're not able to find a quick solution or a fallback plan. And I think Best of Ones, where you only literally have one opportunity, is the perfect scenario to kind of test that out and grow that ability as a team.
We also got to watch this team. You were co-streaming it. We were co-streaming it together, watching mostly SSGA games, right? And we weren't trying to clickbait case on. In one scenario, the first game that we picked, the players said no to being streamed, which you can't do, but why would we want to stream someone who doesn't feel like it? But still, we got to watch SSGA for most of their maps in the first day of close, at least. And they were kind of playing a little bit slow. I didn't expect it out of this team. But that was something that I felt like I saw. Some of their attacking rounds were moving really, really slowly. They were coming down until very late portions of the round, which again, isn't what I had expected.
Oh, man.
I mean,
yeah,
okay, they're just going to play it. They're just going to... Retro said they'll play it.
Yeah, at this point, you just got to keep going. I mean, yeah, that's another thing. Young players, they don't know the small intricacies of the game. It's okay, though.
We did... No, I don't even think it's that. I think he just had a stupid moment. That happens, you know?
Yeah, it happens.
It's just how it happens.
It happens.
We did all that to try and get to the tech pause without having to go to a break. But we do. We're
playing it out.
We're going. Who let NAL IGD into Xenon Gaming Series, bro? What is that guy doing here? I know you're not getting paid. 30 seconds into round 1, though, and we're actually into the game. It's just going to be a 4-on-5 for SSGA.
And a lot of overall utility from SSG Academy, and I absolutely love this. One of their problems in closed qualifiers, especially on the attack, was that late round. A lot of the times they would stall if their initial plan wasn't going forwards, or if there weren't any opportunities or gaps presenting themselves.
Wow.
Wouldn't be there. Really good look here from Scary. He does find technically the first entry onto Rival. Retro taking a little bit of damage himself, but a really good callback, not trying to over-aggress, understanding that they have a lot of pressure in map control over inside a connector.
Very good pick to find as well. Just that really fast opportunity. I was saying I felt like this team was moving pretty slowly and closed, but they already get a very early pick pretty fast. Islands will respond eventually, though. Penguin gone. And it's Retro to actually get the next response. Now, 2 players stuck inside server, stacked right on top of each other next to the bomb chassis, but one of them, Ions, is going to give himself a little bit more space, but he'll only have it for so much longer, because Scary knocks him right back down, makes it a 2 versus 2. One close on the Mira. Scary seems to expect this, but he can't do anything about it. Even then, JJ has that shotgun ready to go. A Denari laser already prepped for this inevitable jump in. The swing from Snake may be ill-advised, but he will dish out some damage, and because JJ's still very close with that M590, he could basically shoot him from any range, anywhere inside of either bomb site, and it would probably be enough to take this kill. The odds could not be more against Scary than they are right now, especially since they seem to be expecting him in this position. They've heard him. Deagle out for Snake. He wants to try and do this with style, and the gas cans, even more of a reason to not believe in Scary out of this position, but maybe he thrives off that doubt. Not quite. Snake has more than just doubts. He's got actions he's going to actually take towards getting rid of Scary, and with the Deagle, the headshot makes it a 1-round 1 for JJ BallSac Nation.
That's a fantastic round of BallSac Nation, just holding back in that 2v1, not over-swinging, trying to give Scary an advantage, saying that we're not going to make this easy for you, young gun. You have to earn this round. And if that's how we continue to see this map played, I am really excited. There's a lot of instances where if JJ gets 5 extra gifted subs, one of those players probably would swing a little more aggressive. But joking aside, I think it is really something where if BallSac can force SSG Academy, I'm sorry, saying that name is showing so hard.
Oh my god, I have so many ideas now.
But I think it's an instance where if you can force SSG Academy to take those positions, if you're not going to give anything to them, this is going to be a really good learning experiment.
It just occurred to me, I saw all the lines connecting like I'm Doctor Strange after you said that. I didn't even realize the potential that I hold within my hands.
Do I say nation? Do I say
beast? You say no. You know what we say. We'll keep saying it.
Okay.
Round number 2, we go to basement for BallSac Nation. And SSGA gonna have to try and figure a way in. This is gonna start to lean into something that I had expected to see after closed quals, where I was saying, you know, we were watching them, they were leaning a lot into their structure, but they were going a little bit slow. This site, that's going to matter a lot more. There is one in IT, though. Snake literally right there as the drone comes in. Snake should be able to take advantage. Penguin already gone. He got one ram drone out, but no more will be thrown inside of the first floor to actually look into the basement itself. And though a shot was landed, Snake will get away from the second floor without getting traded.
I mean, that is huge. That is all of your vert pressure off the board. No breach charges in the pocket of Adept or Scary. There's no buck on the board. Retro, he's just going to have to drill that mag into the floor or just not play vert. And this completely changes up the game plan for BallSac Nation. It's going to make it a lot more difficult for them to apply pressure onto this defense and then in turn give themselves time to work around. But thankfully for them, it does look like that defense has retreated down to the bomb site, aside from one player playing up that Animus Stairs, just looking for one more bite before he goes back down.
They've completely fallen off. They're banking on SSGA taking a really long time to clear map control that they aren't contesting. C4 on the floor is identified, and the nade has to get burned, but at least you're not going to get blown up from the floor. So that's good. Not really a waste of utility there. But now you've got to start to work towards that site. You're already down a man. Look at these Goyo packs. They've got to smoke on these defense as well. So SSGA know they've got to start making a push towards that site, and they've got to do it now, and that's how it's going to start. At least, that's how the threat of it is going to start. Scary takes down JJ and starts to work his way forward past all the util they've got in the way, but still plenty of time before SSGA can make this execute, or not, or Scary is just going to do it all himself. Ion's taken down as well, and SSGA in a weirdly good position here.
4v2 now for them. It's just Snake and Amty, and if they can just hold this line and try and get the plant down, there's nothing that BallSac can do.
Retro's going to start to stick that plant. Smokes all across the objective, and Amty trying to retake into Cargo. Does do it well, and he does it really well. The aim might not have been perfect, but he at least gets the job done. But Retro, right after, is going to shut that dream down. And SSGA will not let it go untied after 2.
Really good clawback round from SSG Academy, and unlike any other SSG team, a 4v2 any man count is a dangerous sign for the team. A really good effort there, but to be fair, if that player at the bottom of storage stairs is just ready, the Valkyrie doesn't get the kill there. But again, I think, you know, getting that first round after losing the first is really important, because something that I didn't get to talk about just yet is that this is technically BallSac's map pick they banned last, so it was up to SSG Academy to pick the starting side for themselves, and they chose attack, which historically is not decided, or it's not the favored side. 2 and 4 split usually is what you expect. I think SSG Academy already trying to test a couple of things out, trying to get the hard part out of the way quickly, and even though we did see them struggle a little bit at the tail end of that round, still nonetheless a great answer back.
10 seconds left before
And as a result of that answer, BallSac Nation no longer big fans
5 seconds to go.
of going to the basement. The BallSac was hanging a little bit too low all the way in the basement, so we'll move up to the first floor instead. And storage and control now the site, as they'll expand all the way up to that second floor. They're likely not going to be able to abandon that roam as quickly as they did last time, because when you give up the second floor here, that's pretty much all there is right above the site. So probably gonna have to play into that much deeper, and that's why you see, you know, a zombie castle coming into the picture to try and really set that up and make it as much of a util dump as possible for SSGA to try and get through.
And that's something I really appreciate about this defense from BallSac so far, is their ability to really put the focus on just util dumping around the map. Or not necessarily dumping it, but using as much utility as possible to then in turn force SSG Academy wasting time just clearing this utility. Even if you're able to clear the Akiba barriers, the JJ on the castle, and then going all the way to the Denari, you still have to worry about those players extending. And this is something that a young team like SSG Academy necessarily will struggle with.
Right now, somewhat struggling. Late round is a lot of second floor has been moved away from. There's 2 players towards CC stairs right now. Otherwise, they've given it up. Half of the round is gone. But SSGA get the second floor control that they were looking for, and they're going to start to push these players back who are on top water, but Snake will start to push back. Finally, there's some resistance, and it's on to Retro. Your Habana now gone. You'd better hope that he got all those X-Kairos out, because otherwise that's a lot of wasted potential that's been taken off the board by BallSac Nation.
Snake in a very pivotal position here. The vert from above makes it so he can't go back into the site, but he can play the surrounding areas perfectly. If he goes undrone, unnoticed, and that could be a huge problem. But lucky enough for SSG Academy, he runs out trying to over-aggress, but nobody in a position to catch him off just yet.
You can see at BallSac Nation really trying to play around the CC stairs. With that position, they can go for a retake of the second floor later. So Penguin might be getting a bit ahead of himself trying to take into this site already. He's broken that deployable camera, so they should know that he's here, and they do. Shots sent his way, and shots landing right onto his dome. Penguin down at the hands of Empty. Case down as well, though it's picked back up by Scary. That comes at the cost of losing a depth. Case on, though, trying to cover his Case planter, but he can only do so much. 2 kills, but he's left needing to find all 5 in a 1v3. It's not gonna happen. Snake shuts it down, and BallSac Nation take the lead again.
Yeah, BallSac Nation playing almost down to a T perfectly on this defense. Playing around not only the pace that SSG Academy is setting for themselves, which again, you talked about going all the way back to the closed qualifier. They are a team that is really slow, especially going on to that last minute of the attacking rounds. Mira and a Grim being banned off the board, both very warranted, and I don't think either side really wins that ban war. But again, you know, just Mira takes away a lot of that line of sight, that control in the bomb site itself, and then the Grim taking away a lot of that safety info, that safety net when you go into the late round when you don't have a lot of drones. So again, it gives me the idea that both teams have a fair understanding of how each other are playing around this map. But it's not a playstyle. It's not that SSG Academy isn't reading into what BallSac is doing. They have a perfect idea. They just don't have the timing and the positioning to deal with it.
They better hope they have timing, positioning, util, anything to deal with the clash in round number 4, because Ions is hiding that. JJ's also playing Rook with the shotgun. So I don't know if that was a sub goal too or something, but I have not seen Rook since we casted together at GCC. Actually, no, was it us? Was it? I think it was me and Irish, actually. We casted together at Collegiate LAN, and there was a team where everybody had one op they could pick, and one of them was Rook. So that was fun, but yeah, this is the first time I've seen Rook in an actual competitive match. I think, at least in a long time, and it probably will be the only time I'll see him. At least so long as he doesn't have the ACOG. So, it's a fun pick to see for sure.
Yeah, it is. And I think also, especially going in that late round, if AJ does find himself alive, he can just squeeze himself into those corners. And we've seen in these first couple of rounds, especially going to that first entry pick in the second round inside of IT, SSG does tend to have a little bit of a struggle in finding these ratty players. That's something they're going to have to be careful of. A player like Penguin on the Blackbeard's going to help them with that. You also have that Capitao to try and push those players out of those rat and power positions. But so far, it's very slow, very quiet for both teams. It's just SSG Academy. That figuring out stage, trying to figure out exactly where the positioning from BallSac is. And it looks like they also just found out that Ions is on that.
Seems like given the util they have on the offense, they're setting up for one big attack all at once. It was gonna go to top water, but Snake managed to down Penguin first, and everybody else is falling down right after. 5 kills in a row, and the Rook shotgun gets in on the action at the very end. BallSac Nation are in the lead 3-1.
Yeah, this game is a testing phase for SSG Academy. I talked about how not only the experience, but the individual mechanical skill for every player is just miles ahead of SSG Academy. Even with a Case on and a Scary on your team, that situational awareness, that individual positioning IQ, you're not going to have position on the Raptors window fired off, SSG Academy said to themselves, okay, he's probably not going to swing that. We can take that, you know, assumption and then go just push on top water. But then Snake saw that as an opportunity to go for a very aggressive kill. And this is not something new. He did in the first round. He was the player who got that kill in the rat spot inside of IT. And this is something that not only SSG Academy needs to be aware of, but they're currently not whatsoever.
Discovered the location of a bomb. 10 seconds left before insertion. 5 seconds left. Attackers are moving to defuse the bomb.
And with that, BallSac Nation can't go back to the comfortable sites they've already won. They've got to go to the basement instead. Heavy expansion away from the objective. One of their Goyo cans already got burned, unfortunately, but otherwise, seems like they've got the same general idea. You're going to send a few roamers out to play wherever they want, try and see if they can go get an opening pick and show a lot of presence. Probably fall back just after that, though. The fact that you're running the Vigil and the Solus makes me think they may also want to play to use that verticality against the defense, or against the attack, rather, later on, should it not be fully taken, maybe with some kind of a retake or something. But for now, they are all across the map. There's only one player inside the site itself, but it seems like SSGA, they want to go for this full roam clear.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that answer from SSG Academy. A lot of teams, their skill set would not usually go for, you know, that ditched effort. They just kind of, you know, play by themselves. We have Rival right behind that desk, but it's the entry onto Ions that's casing off the board. Retro, be careful. A little bit of schizophrenia here. Stake with another one onto Penguin. Rival and JJ, they back it up, and it continues to unravel for SSG Academy. A 4-1 lead now. A 2-4 is now only the best opportunity for the Young Guns.
Yeah, you call them the Young Guns. That's what their reputation was, is that they can step head-to-head in these gunfights with a team like BallSac Nation, with most teams, right? If they were going to be able to do anything, you would think it is win one-on-ones. But so far, it feels like they haven't even really been able to do that. They haven't been clearing those first hurdles. We've been seeing consistent flurries of kills in favor of BallSac Nation the moment that SSGA meets that first point of resistance. We've seen it 2 rounds in a row. It's just been a sweep in favor of BallSac Nation at the very first moment that SSGA encounters any of them across the map. Maybe Labs is just a map that they were very prepared to play, but it also just feels like SSGA unprepared for the amount of resistance they'll be facing this early on, and they haven't been able to compensate by winning any just individual head-to-heads, which, you know, you don't want to just say, oh, they're losing their ones. I do think there are plenty of things they could be doing to try and push BallSac Nation back a little further, rather than having to take the one so early. But it just feels consistently like every single time, the first point of contact between these two is always going BallSac Nation's way. I don't know if you've been keeping track of opening pick stats or not. I haven't, but just off vibes, it feels like JJ and co have been winning pretty much all of them so far. I don't know if I can remember one, other than round 1, that SSGA actually won the opening fight.
Well,
until round 6, apparently.
Until round 6 of depth, with another one on to Snake. Not only do you get 2 influential players off the board, but you also get your Solus and Vigil. Probably the 2 painstaking operators that you would have to deal on that roam. The first half of the round is now off the board, and no immediate trade from BallSac. That is also very important, that SSG Academy did not lead a player in getting those first 2. And, you know, whether it comes in the very last round of the first half or the first, it's better later than never.
Yeah, that might have been a 5-gifted 5-man spawn peak moment, but it wasn't all 5. They didn't all go for it. Still, though, the double spawn peak doesn't quite work, but look at how scared SSGA are of trying to meet BallSac Nation. I mean, look at how long this has taken for Penguin just to put a ram drone into a can opener hole in a hard breach wall, and he's not even really going to do it. It looks like he's given up on that idea and just decided to lurk somewhere else. They are very afraid of encountering BallSac Nation, but it's playing to their benefit because they know this round something has awoken within BallSac Nation. They've decided to just swing everything. From behind is a good kill for JJ, but now he's got to win a 1 versus 4. And he's running all the way away from where he just was. Site is still on the first floor. And given that they just recognized there's a player all the way up on 2F near electrical, of course, that's going to mean that Retro and the gang are going to run straight into control and start to get that plant down. They've got Vert. If this last player of JJ chooses to walk through the rotate hole, and they've also got the plant down already, so Retro can try and cover his own ass, but instead, JJ is going to shoot him. Towards the warehouse he'll go. He has information to work with, but the ping's not quite enough. And they manage to escape one player over the control hallway. Penguin to the floor, can't quite win that fight, but Adept certainly can. And Space Station Gaming Academy will at least make it multiple by the end of the half.
Yeah, you get the bare minimum of what is expected from a defensive or an attacking team, rather. But, I mean, picking into attack on a map that you should know, in my opinion, I think that should result a 3-3. But again, I mean, it could have been much worse. It could have been 1-5, SSG Academy now going on to their defensive side, which should be very comfortable. Obviously, not only BallSac Nation are they a team that is very read up, their ability to attack is somewhat fantastic in a tier 3, tier 2 sense, but also just, you know, historically, JJ teams have been really good at Night Haven Labs. The thing going on to this SSG Academy, it's not a sense where it's BallSac Nation just running away with the control. I think there's a possibility, but it needs to be soon. You can't let them go up 6-2. SSG Academy needs to find a footing quickly.
Something they had a harder time doing in their attacking half, after round 2 at least. It felt like they had maybe found something, but then JJ really just started pressing the issue and taking early fights, forcing SSGA to take early fights within the building, and that worked really well. So they figured, why not take the early fights outside the building, and that worked less well, but still. 4-2 half, pretty much the expected half for both sides. No one can be overly excited or disappointed about that. SSGA probably excited to get off of that defense half, though, because now they can start to maybe hole up in sight, sit behind your mirror windows, your Clash Shield, your Azami barricades, and let BallSac Nation try to burn through all that util as a team that is a pug stack. It seems like a pretty winning strategy. In theory, this does seem like a good way for SSGA to approach this defense. BallSac Nation are a very experienced team, so I think that if they need to adapt, they should be able to. But I do like the idea coming into round number 7 for SSGA.
Yeah, so far, when I've watched this iteration of this roster under the SSGA name, they've been really good at not only using the utility, but more importantly, using it to the sense where it fits into the meta. They don't, you know, use it in a weird way where they don't fully understand the meta. This is a very mature team in a sense where they understand the game at a high level. Now, when it comes to execution, that's where they struggle more often than not. But nonetheless, I think it's kind of a thing where they have a really good floor. They have a great foundation. They just need to, you know, go through the figuring out, test things out, and figure out exactly how they can build off of that.
Nothing really to work with yet. Penguin trying to get aggressive, wants to show presence towards the rafters, but nearly loses his life for it thanks to Anti upside down repelled with the 417. The smoke is also going to allow them into IT, and very deep in fact, as Ion's on the glass, unbothered by the Fen mine, wants to try and take that forward control, break that Fen mine, and really establish himself already inside the building right next to the objective. It looks like SSGA know where they're expecting this push to come from, that Raptors and IT combination. If JJ and co can get any other elements on this attack, though, I think things could really work out for this attack, because SSGA could easily crumble with 1 or 2 lurks in the right spot.
I mean, yeah, this is a lot of map control gained very early on. Nobody even inside of Raptors. SSG Academy entirely pushed back, but Penguin from the opening on the wall, and Raptors is able to find out Snake, and that's going to stunt the progression of this attack from BallSac. Just for now, and no immediate trade left. SSG Academy still gathering themselves, but JJ with a quick entry, immediately traded back by Kason.
That's a really good trade. Kason getting that one back. That could have been the lurk to win everything. Ion's into the site, trying to win everything himself. He can't quite get more. He's only got 2. The Clash still to contest with, though, as well as Adept right behind that shield. With Retro actually literally right behind his own shield for the moment as he's put it down, trying to go gun up. Ions doesn't have the case either. He'll have to try to cross to make that happen. You can already spot the Clash. He spots her while she's trying to pick the shield back up, and that means it's a good opportunity for him to cross, get the case, and then try to force the issue. He's planting right in front of the Clash, though, but as she drops the shield, he has to get off. He has to drop the act, and now he's got to try and face them both head to head, but he's not afraid of that. Already so close up against the Clash, and then Knife does everything. Everything that he could have possibly needed. 4 alone in that round from Ions, and a 5th round now for BallSac Nation.
Ion's letting it hang low. SSG Academy, I can't even say they played that 2v1 horribly. They had to apply pressure on that planter. Ion's forcing them to push that 1v2. In my opinion, I think it's kind of a situation where that Glaz just played it perfectly. Understanding that not only did he not have the time in his favor, he also didn't have the man count. And because he's tried his best to stick that plant, it forced those last 2 players to play as aggressive as possible. And I think it's kind of a sense where SSG, they were doing the best they could, but Ion just understanding exactly what he needed to do.
No, they can't. No, they can't rehost. No. I guess they can. They can rehost. And we're going to send ourselves to a rehost, and in the meantime, I think it's probably just best if we send ourselves to a break. This is our 3rd rehost so far, so we're going to give everybody a chance to reset and get ready to go. When we come back, though, we will see if JJ and Co, or what they're actually called, BallSac Nation, can keep the hot streak going, or if SSGA will have any more luck in the rest of their defense half. Welcome back. We're back, we're ready to go, and Retro is looking very different right now as Butcher has taken his place. The substitute for this team has been made mid-game, which normally isn't allowed, but JJ was advocating for it. Like he was pushing for this to happen. If you could watch his stream, he wanted them to get a substitute. He didn't want to play 4-on-5. So if the other team's cool with it, you know, I guess they let it happen. And so Butcher's here now in place of Retro, whose Wi-Fi went out. So we're back 5-2, and I would worry if I was rival right now. and Ions too, I think.
Yeah.
I would be very afraid.
I have a deep feeling that something might happen to these two players that are currently about to die, and they're dead. That buys JJ an extra round of ad revenue, and SSG Academy another opportunity here. And I think they're just going to continue to, like, keep the gear up. I think they're not going to let their foot off the pedal, even though there's 3 people inside of storage currently. JJ, what are you going to do? Are you going to run full spread into a 3v1 with pace on your hand? I don't think an extra drone's really going to help that.
I'm really disappointed our observers didn't catch that. Our one observer didn't catch that. I'm not gonna lie, that was very sad.
Yeah.
Still though, player walking through IT, great timing to open that up. Snake starts to make the comeback from a deficit they gave themselves. Already back to within 1 pick. Easily could have found it around the corner here as well. Empty. Close to something. On the verge of a frag as a player will fade away from the warehouse, but just in time, Scary's gonna find that trade on the JJ Blast himself. So 4 versus 2 is that 2-man advantage still in the picture for SSGA. Empty nearly able to make it better, but swung on from this side. Now it's a 1-on-4 for the only guy who's found to kill this round. Snake chasing after Adept through the floor. He couldn't quite get him, even though it was through the hatch. No bars to get in the way. Still a pretty significant problem. Case to be picked back up as well. And 1 minute and 20 seconds that could be wasted, but it doesn't seem like Snake is going to waste them as he will get right towards the action. Yeah, I should be able to pick up the case, yeah, without breaking the Kiba. So, not a big problem there, but bigger issue trying to contend with the guy on the storage doorway. And the site is actually in the basement as well, so he's just going to get straight towards it. Animus hatch opened up. Goyo Pack was literally right on it, so we lost a lot of HP in case on. We'll quickly finish him off. SSGA gifted at round number 8 thanks to Fett. And those 30 subs will get them to round 3.
Also through that round, I accidentally had the JJ stream on, so I just heard him lining up Rival and Ions to burn them. I was like, what is that? What? It's just JJ, like, ordering them into a group. But again, I think it's kind of a situation where SSG Academy, they're given an opportunity, and they take advantage of it. I think it is really important that I preface that even with the shenanigans that's going on with BallSac right now, this is still an opportunity for SSG Academy to not only test themselves as a team and individually, but also take a lot and learn from this match. I still think, even though this isn't the most serious matchup, this is still going to be important for the growth of this team.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the game where the other team was streaming and laughing about how little they're trying, right? Like, that's never going to feel good. The competitor in you is not going to be happy about that by any means. And in a weird sense, we were sort of talking about this during the break, it could help in a game like this that you lose your IGL, because maybe you were a little too structured, maybe the attacks were going a little, like, I mean, you're not on attack anymore unless you sneak this out to OT, but you know, maybe in a weird sense, you bring in, instead of Retro who's trying to bring more organization, you just bring in a really solid gunner like Butcher, who I don't think can call. I'm not sure what's happening now in terms of who on SSGA would be calling anything, or if they're all just kind of gunning like it's ranked. But that could definitely help, because BallSac Nation really don't have much of a calling system at all, and so it could be that you were trying to solve a puzzle that wasn't even really a puzzle. It's just 5 people trying to play the video game. Either way, very early on in this round, Snake is going to do what he did the last round and get the first kill, at least that is, onto an opposing player almost. Smokes one off the bottom water stairs angle as well. Can't quite get that done though. And BallSac Nation will take the 5-on-4.
That's the second round in a row where Snake's been able to find an isolated roamer for that entry pick. I mean, overall, this entire game, Snake has been fantastic at shutting down those opening engagements for BallSac Nation. Also, really good effort for BallSac to, fall back, not allow SSG Academy to get that first pick. But there's not really a huge roaming presence aside from Adept. A majority of this defense has now recollected themselves inside of the bomb site. So BallSac Nation just shifting around the map, trying to open that wall inside of Nectar, see what control they can get inside of Raptors. Not a whole lot of presence, it really does seem, over in that part of the map. So again, SSG Academy kind of boxing themselves into the bomb site.
Seem to be doing it happily, but the Grim well, you go from start to get those tracks, but Snake isn't actually going to use it in that way. Dismisses one of the tracks before he can actually get any shots from below. The shotgun on the electrical doorway not finding any success, and JJ is going to get that kill. It could go flawlessly. It's about to. Unless Penguin kills anybody, JJ was looking the wrong way, so he will at least get one. But 1 HP left. He's getting pressed from just about every angle possible, and Ampty, the one to get gifted the kill. Match point now for BallSac Nation.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a difficult round. Even if you have that extension inside of Raptors, it doesn't really help you because a majority of that focus was from that split in connector area, then pushing onto the bomb site. As soon as they got control of the head holes next to the mirror, getting the wall right below the mirror open with that can opener, I mean, it's just a line of sight that SSG, whether or not they were aware, they kept just feeding it. I mean, it's just this, crossfire that BallSac Nation is holding, and within 15 seconds, you give them 3 separate players, and then it's a 1v5. So it's kind of a situation where, sure, they did do a lot wrong, but at the same time, they just fell down to a lot of simple mistakes. Just overall, not a lot of, positioning awareness from them. The exact same third badge for the first half, a mirror off the board for BallSac Nation and the Grim, which also, to be fair, did give them quite a bit of trouble in that last round.
And SSGA having quite a bit of trouble here on 99 Labs. A map that, throughout closed qualifiers, didn't seem like maybe it was their favorite. I would probably say Clubhouse was more of a, the one you get that impression from. But they did beat Imperium of Man on it 7-2, so it was definitely in their wheelhouse. And on top of that, in that game, it was a 6-0 stomp on the attacking side for SSGA. So already, this game was off to a much worse start before they even really got going. And something tells me that they got the 10 subs that they needed to get an attacking rush to go again, because we've got all the shields in this lobby. Not a Monty, though. All the ones that can move really fast, and they're going to do just that straight into the storage window. Already the plant is going down, and there aren't really angles to deal with it. There is the C4 out of case on, and this angle finally going to come into the picture from Penguin, but Rival and Snake have brought this back to an advantage for BallSac Nation. The case being on the ground is annoying, but now they know exactly where to look, because 2 of these players alive are just looking through the floor. So if they stare up through that ceiling, that could be pretty advantageous, but Adept is the one who wasn't upstairs. He'll get straight into this site, but he'll only get 1. Now Ampty gets 2, and it's Penguin who's got to go for 3. Only having 1 since the rehost, and having Rival on his tail already. Good shots, though, as Rival surprisingly running away from him with the shield presumably on his back. Either way, it's a headshot to get the Denari back into the round, but there's a player outside the window with a Claymore to boot, and so even if he got the kill, Ampty still would have gotten not just the round, but the map for BallSac Nation. SSGA thought they had BallSac in the palm of their hands, but instead, 7-3 the other way.
Yeah, tough victory. Only took 10 gifted subs for BallSac to end it with that rush in the last round. And to be fair, they did try their best having 2 shields on the board. Again, I do think that JJ and Co. or BallSac Nation, whether or not they're throwing it or just going for that rush, they did play that vert really well, applying the pressure, not letting those players above just take that round away. The Blackbeard specifically constantly just watching those holes, understanding, knowing that a defender was going to swing it, and just waiting for the time for when that happened. And again, so even if it was a very tough round for SSG Academy, it was a fantastic rush there from BallSac Nation.
And it wasn't even the gifted subs. I just took a look at JJ's stream. He didn't even get gifted anything. That was the strat they wanted to go with. So it was not, or that was just, what they felt like doing coming into that game. And you know what? More power to them for that. That was just how they chose to go about it. The 3 shields end up working out pretty well. They leave 2 alive and they win 7-3, but definitely a disheartening win for SSGA. You could say that by the very end, they probably kind of, gave up. Maybe mentally a bit. I mean, you lose your IGL, the Wi-Fi issues, and you probably are at least somewhat aware that JJ is dancing on stream after being gifted subs to TK his teammates, and that's the only round that you won it after the rehost. It's gonna play on your mental a little bit. Hopefully SSGA not too discouraged after a loss like that, but there was a lot to be disappointed about even before the rehost, as you don't end up down 5-2 while your IGL was there the whole time, for playing your best Siege.
Yeah, but lucky enough for them, especially with this format, they have 6 more best of 1, 6 more opportunities. And honestly, if this is going to continue to be the same, I do predict that this phase of the event is going to be close, and those later games are going to matter quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that certainly could. And as we get later into our day, we are going to have to keep moving forward. Unfortunately, no team's as funny as BallSac Nation, but up next, NDK versus Karn & Co. for our second game of the day.